No DQ Galaxy. We are live on a Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Very rare I come on here for a breaking news video, but unfortunately, we have some sad news to report. The rumors were true following the merger of WWE and TKO. WWE and UFC to form TKO. WWE released several wrestlers from their contracts today. Last week, we had multiple employee layoffs, I think hundreds of them from what is being reported. And today we had 9 names, at least 9 names that I know of at this time, that have been released from WWE. And it would not surprise me if we see more. I could expect another dozen, quite frankly, and maybe some NXT names as well. It's an unfortunate day, but these things happen. It's been a common practice in WWE for decades now. There was a period where WWE stopped releasing wrestlers. That was around mid 2022, right around the time that Vince McMahon stepped down and Triple H took over. But with the merger and Vince McMahon back in power and Endeavor looking to maximize their profits, cannot say I'm surprised by this news. This is ongoing breaking news. Stay tuned. Any updates will be available on nodq.com, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about this coming up on the No DQ review this Sunday. For now, I will go ahead and give my thoughts on the 9 names that I'm aware of so far. First up is Mustafa Ali. He was the first person that we knew was gone from WWE. He actually tweeted out that he was no longer with WWE, and people were shocked by this because he's actually been a featured player in NXT, and it was looking like he was going to face Dominic Mysterio. Mr. Anderson sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, wasn't Ali supposed to face Dominic at No Mercy? They were going in that direction. Dominic is scheduled to face Dragon Lee this coming Monday on Raw in a title match, North American Championship. Ali on NXT this week, 2 days ago, said that he was going to be coming to Raw, and what would have likely happened was some sort of angle to set up Ali versus Dominic Mysterio, or maybe even a 3-way match at No Mercy. That is why it's a surprising cut. Now, apparently, the rumor is that it was a mutual decision. We do know that Ali has been vocal in the past about how he's been utilized in WWE. He even publicly requested his release from the company, and it was denied, and he stuck around. He stayed in WWE. He got pushed. Then they stopped pushing him, and it seemed like an never-ending cycle. Then he went to NXT and was being utilized. He was on TV regularly, and they were seemingly setting up a match with Dominic Mysterio for the North American Championship. Where does Mustafa Ali go from here? I think AEW is very likely. I could see Impact Wrestling being a possibility. Maybe he goes overseas, but my guess is he is most likely to go to AEW. If I had to bet money on it, I would say AEW, maybe 50%, maybe 25% Impact, and then maybe 25% somewhere overseas, like New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's Ali. Aliyah tweeted out that she was released from WWE. She's no surprise. She hasn't even wrestled in like a year or so. It's been a long time since she's been on television. I figured if they were going to start doing releases, she would have been at the top of the list. She did get a push for a while. She beat Natalya. They did the whole 3 minutes, 17 seconds steal with her, or whatever it was. I'm not even sure what the time was. I've already forgotten about it. But she got that brief push, and then she was gone. And she never resurfaced on TV. She's been around in WWE for years, and they did finally call her up, but beyond that brief push she had, that was it for her. And they never brought her back. No surprise here with her. Emma is gone. I'm actually a little surprised that they even brought her back in the first place. When she came back, I thought it's nice that Triple H is bringing back people, but are they really going to do anything with her? And the answer was no. They did not do anything with her. They did pair her up with her real-life boyfriend, Riddick Moss, a.k.a. Madcap Moss, who was also one of the people released today. Neither of them are surprising, especially Emma, because they really did nothing with her. She came in, and from what I remember, she lost very early on and never really got pushed to any degree. Moss did get pushed, and he's a body guy. He's jacked. WWE did push him. They gave him several pushes, as a matter of fact. He was paired with Baron Corbin, and then he turned babyface and had a little bit of a run. But they did give up on him, which is why I'm not really shocked by the news. I do not see AEW picking up Moss. Maybe Emma, because their women's division is lacking and they could always use a little bit more star power. But I really feel like AEW would not do much with her either. Look at Taya Valkyrie. They used her a little bit, but not a whole lot. And I feel like Emma kind of falls into that same category. Like, she has some name value, but I'm not sure if AEW is going to pick her up. And Moss, like I said, he's a body guy. He's not what they call a work rate guy. He's got a good look, but Tony Khan already has so many people under contract and now some potential people he can bring in. I think Moss is probably not going to AEW. Impact seems to be the most likely destination for him. We have an Aliyah. Maybe she resurfaces in Impact, but I'm not expecting that. We got Rick Boogs. I'm very sad about Rick Boogs. I feel bad for the guy because he had a lot of potential. Very charismatic. Again, he's more about the physique than the actual in-ring abilities, but he was organically getting over with fans. Like, they really got into his gimmick. Him and Nakamura was a great pairing, and Pat McAfee did such a great job putting over Boogs and making Boogs feel like a legit major star. Unfortunately, Boogs got hurt. And that was terrible for his momentum. I mean, that just halted it completely. He got injured at WrestleMania, biggest match of his career, and he finally was able to recover from that. He was gone for close to a year. I know it was a significant amount of time. And when he came back, the team with Nakamura was broken up. They did nothing with him, unfortunately, and he was gone. And with Pat McAfee gone, like Pat McAfee might have been able to get him booted up again and get him over with the fans and build up his momentum. But unfortunately, no Pat McAfee, no Nakamura, and yeah, he just was lost. Had no direction, and cannot say I'm surprised, but I am disappointed about him. I feel like he could have had a lengthier run in WWE. Top Dolla is gone. Now, surprisingly, no word yet on the rest of Hit Row. One would have to think that if Top Dolla's gone, they're gone. Like, what are they going to do? Without Hit Row, like, I don't think they're going to have any plans for those two. You got Ashanti, Adonis, and B-Fab. I would not be surprised if their names come up at any time now that they're also let go. Top Dolla, like, Hit Row, unfortunately, was a bust. It was clear to me very quickly that Swerve was the star of the act, or the star of the team. When they were there, they just were not connecting. WWE did push them a little bit, but very quickly after the fans were kind of lukewarm to them, they got lost in the shuffle and basically became enhancement talent. They were out there getting beat up by LA Knight, so on and so forth. And then Top Dolla botched that move with the dive, and Michael Cole just made fun of him every week. Like, he was burying the guy. It was clear they had no plans for Top Dolla whatsoever. So he's not a surprise either. Shelton Benjamin is gone. Shelton Benjamin, to me, is another surprise. The guy could have been a producer if they weren't planning on using him as a wrestler. And he's getting up there. He's pushing 50. But you could have kept him as a producer. The guy is a great talent. And you could have done more with the Hurt Business. That was a letdown. Like, they could have done more with Shelton. And quite frankly, they could have done more during his first run with WWE. Shelton Benjamin, I think, is going to AEW. I would be willing to bet good money on that. Will he actually be a full-time wrestler at his age? Maybe not, but you know they're going to bring him in. Like I said, Tony Khan is a work rate guy, and Shelton is all about work rate. One of the best wrestlers in the world, and even if he's not wrestling on a regular basis, you know that Shelton will be utilized. They'll use him as a coach or something. I could definitely see him at least coming in and maybe doing a few matches and then transitioning to a coaching type of role in AEW. And what might be the biggest surprise is Dolph Ziggler. Not a surprise in the sense that he hasn't been used in a while, but he's been with WWE for almost 20 years. That's crazy. And he's gone now. Like, they didn't keep him around in a producer role or a trainer. He could have been a trainer at the Performance Center. Maybe he didn't want to. The guy does his outside projects, and maybe he was fine just not being utilized, and they decided, why are we paying a guy that we're not using? And that's why he's gone. I would be shocked if he doesn't go to AEW. His brother's there. And again, he's the type of guy that I think a lot of people feel has been underappreciated in WWE. One of the best wrestlers in the world and former world champion. Somewhat hard to believe considering how the last 5, 6, 7 years of his career has gone. But I would expect him to show up in AEW in some capacity. Again, might not be a full-time wrestler, but we'll see. Mr. Tito sent in a $5 super chat, says, name a WWE release that has burned them afterward in the last 5 years. Name a recent Triple H re-signing that mattered. You can't really either way. Vince was right. Well, you could have a point with that. I would not say all. With Bray Wyatt, there was a health issue, but I think bringing him back was the right call. And in a way, I think bringing back Braun Strowman was a good call. I mean, I don't think he should have been released in the first place. The guy is popular with the kids, and there's definitely a place for him as the resident giant of WWE. But other than those two, I think most of the returns have been disappointing. You look at Karrion Kross, very disappointing how that turned out, and Hit Row, obviously. Johnny Gargano has been a disappointment. He really hasn't had a chance to have that breakthrough moment on the main roster. Same thing with Tommaso Ciampa. But thank you for that, Mr. Tito. And let me go ahead and bring on JJ Williams to the live stream here. I offered a spot on here for any of the No DQ panel members, but it's an odd time right now. It's 3:16. Shout out to Steve Austin. It's 3 o'clock here. It's noon on the West Coast, so a lot of people are working. So let's bring JJ on right now. JJ, how's it going, man?
Going good. How are you doing today?
It's been a busy day for sure. So I already talked about the releases, and I'll go ahead and throw it over to you now with your thoughts. What were you surprised about? What were you not surprised about? And where do you see some of these names going? The floor is yours.
I think the most shocking one, at least for me, was Mustafa Ali, considering the program he's been having in NXT, the fact that he's supposed to be challenging Dominic Mysterio on the 30th in Bakersfield for the North American Championship. And now what's going to happen there? Pretty much everybody else has been in catering or on Superstars or just getting jobbed out. Like you said, Michael Cole just burying Top Dolla ever since the flop dollar situation happened. And I think that if we were going to put together a list of people that we figured would get cut when this day came, pretty much everybody that got cut today would be on our lists. Even Shelton Benjamin and Dolph Ziggler to a certain extent, because ever since the Hurt Business broke up, Shelton's barely been getting TV time. Cedric Alexander very well could be the next one to go as far as that goes. Much as you mentioned, the fact that Ashanti, the Adonis, and B-Fab are probably on the block now the Top Dolla's gone. Cedric Alexander, pretty much the same thing, could very well be on the chopping block now that Shelton's gone because there's his tag partner. What are they going to do with Cedric Alexander? They ain't done nothing. So I would probably say that those three names are the biggest shocker, but honestly, for me, it was probably Mustafa because of the program he was in. He was at least being featured heavily on the NXT product. And like I said, had a title match coming up in 9 days against Dominic Mysterio.
I forgot to mention Elias. I have him listed right here, and I completely forgot to talk about him. He's another guy that isn't really surprising because he was gone for most of the year. I'm not even sure when he last wrestled, but after Ezekiel, he returned as Elias and then disappeared a couple months after that.
Yeah, I really wanted to see both Elias and Ezekiel in the Rumble. I thought that would have been great. Have Elias come in at like number 2, get eliminated, go in the back, shave, come out as Ezekiel at like number 29 or 30, and just would have been hilarious to do. But yeah, I'm not really surprised at any of these at the end of the day, but I do think that the biggest shockers are Mustafa, Shelton, and Dolph.
Yeah, I agree on that. As far as where Elias goes, maybe Impact. I do not see AEW picking him up. What do you think?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with a little bit I heard in the green room before I came on screen. Shelton Benjamin is all elite, I think, is a lock, especially as a former Ring of Honor tag team champion. He could do things with their Ring of Honor product. Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth is all elite. Put the Nemeth brothers together. You can have good matches with the Nemeths versus the Hardys. Nemeth's versus the Bucks, Nemeth's versus the Acclaimed, FTR, etc. I think there would be some great matches, and most of the stuff is either filmed on Wednesday, so they still got their Fridays free to do their comedy shtick. You know, can kind of have a Rick Rude situation where they're on TV on Rampage, and here they are in your town performing stand-up comedy at the same time. The women, Aliyah and Emma, possibly Impact Wrestling. They do have the best women's division in the country right now, the Knockouts division. And I feel like if they're going to get pushed, that's where they want to go. Just look at the success with Trinity. If they go to AEW, they're just going to be lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. And
But,
I pointed out
Mustafa Ali possibly AEW. I think he'd maybe be a better fit in the X division though for Impact. So that's definitely a coin flip.
He would probably get more of a push in Impact. He would be more towards the top of the card. Like AEW, same thing. He would come in with fanfare, and then he might just fall into the background, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think Mustafa Ali versus Trey Miguel, Speedball Mike Bailey, Sabin Shelley, be some great matches there.
Yeah. Dolph Ziggler is a former world champion, so I feel like he's the most valuable asset of the people on this list. And, you know, a guy that a lot of people think should be a WWE Hall of Famer.
Definitely, but I also think he's the one on the list who needs to go somewhere the least. He's got his stand-up comedy career that he can just put all his energy in, and he seems to have been doing pretty good with that the last couple of years, because how much have we seen him on TV in the last 2 years as opposed to prior to that? Like, his career in comedy has just been really taken off. Yeah. And this could be just what he needs to focus that energy into that and just be like, you know what? I'm going to let my body heal up for a couple years now.
Yeah. I don't think Top Dollar is going to AEW unless him and Swerve are really tight and Swerve can bring him into the Mogul affiliates.
That's very possible, you know, especially if the rest of Hit Row get released, bring them in, have them get absorbed into the Mogul embassy. Like, that would be, you know, another good tag team for AEW.
Yeah.
Another good trios to go after either the Ring of Honor or the AEW trios titles.
Yeah, it's not about what you know, it's who you know sometimes.
Exactly.
And Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says, do Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory need each other? This might be a controversial take, but I think Gargano needs Theory more than Theory needs Gargano. What do you think, JJ?
I completely agree. I think that if they're going to do the way on the main roster, they need to really get the ball rolling. We've seen a little bit of Candice and Indy Hartwell as a team, but we haven't seen much of Gargano and Dexter Loomis since Indy got the call up. You've got the whole Index potential, putting Indy and Dexter back together. You've got Candice and Johnny. You can run some mixed tag matches, you know, with Dom and Rhea versus any of those combinations. We just need to get that ball rolling if that's something they're going to do. But I completely agree that Gargano needs Theory more than Theory needs Gargano. Theory's a 2-time U.S. champion at this point.
Right, and he's been in the ring with John Cena and
Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. Yeah, like, he doesn't need them.
Exactly. They still are high on the guy. But we'll keep you guys posted as soon as we hear more information. It'll be up on NoDQ.com, and there could unfortunately be some NXT cuts. But JJ, I mean, as much as it sucks, you know, it is business, and it does suck that they're making so much money and they just don't let the contracts expire. But at the same time, if you're not using a guy, for some of them, you know, it really is terrible. But at the same time, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's other opportunities. Thank goodness, you know, people shit on AEW, but it's a legit alternate brand and another place for somebody to work. And Impact, you know, we make fun of Impact, but that's another place where people can work and can prove, hey, you guys made a mistake, and they can show that they are worthy of being on the biggest stage possible. So we'll see what happens with those guys. And plus with WWE, there's just so many people on the roster, and they're trying to push new people. They got NXT. Like, it's ultimately better for the WWE brand if they have a smaller roster so they can focus on the guys they already have instead of just having a ton of people that are benched. Either use the people or let them go and let them see what they can do elsewhere and make a name for themselves.
Yeah, a lot of people online have been saying that this isn't the end of your chapter, it's the beginning of a new book. You look at a guy like Matt Cardona, who's really positioned himself as a big-time player on the indie circuit since his release from WWE, and a guy like Dolph Ziggler, a guy like Shelton Benjamin, even to a certain extent a guy like Mustafa Ali very easily have the potential to be that next Cardona on the indie scene and be in such a demand that they can demand a top dollar, pun intended, from whatever promoter wants to book them.
Absolutely. So JJ, thank you for stopping by here, and thank you to everybody for tuning in on a Thursday afternoon. JJ, go ahead and let everybody know where we can find you.
Well, you can find me on the socials: Instagram, the Renegade JJ Williams; YouTube, Casa D18 Studios; Twitter or X, ROWJJ Williams; and this evening, as a matter of fact, the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse Media will be doing a watch along for night 2 of Impact 1000, so you can check us out there. Going live at 4:45 Pacific, 7:45 Eastern Time.
All right. Thank you for that, JJ. And
thank you for having me on.
Everybody take care. Stay safe out there. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com, and we will see you all next time.